In this video, I'm going to be going over the basics of Duel and Reflex. Duel is a one-on-one mode that lasts for 10 minutes, and it always lasts for 10 minutes. Since there's no mercy rule, a 50-to-1 game is worth the same to you as a 5-to-1 game. But in a 5-to-1 game, the guy might actually play you again. Since there's no score cap or kill limit, there's no pressure to fight constantly in a duel. You almost always have time to pick the fights you want and set up an advantage for yourself. 10 minutes is a long time. Another thing is that you've got to understand that the items completely dictate the flow of the game. Your success in combat is going to be determined by how well you play around the items. If you're going to get into bad fights and you're worrying about out-aiming him or out-moving him or you fill in the blank, you're doing it wrong. We're going to talk a lot about what makes a fight good or bad later on. But if you're going to remember only one thing about this video, it should be that how well you play the game and how well you aim are separate elements. Don't get the wrong idea. Reflex is an FPS, and if you can't handle moving and shooting, you need to find a different game right away. But you should think of mechanical skill as a kind of multiplier on the decisions you make. Your aim compared to your opponent's aim should definitely factor into your decision making because it determines how much you can push it in fights or how carefully you have to play. But aim can be very deceiving when you're learning the game. Any focus on aim at all when you're learning the game is unhealthy and should be avoided. And if you're not a high-level player and you think aim is your problem, you're kidding yourself. In Reflex, you don't pick up the items in between fights, you pick fights in between items. If you've been playing long enough to know the weapons and pickups, you can move on to the next video unless you want to be bored. For everyone else, welcome to the game, and let's get started. Alright, so on this video I'm going to be demonstrating on the Catalyst, but everything I go over should apply to all the main duel maps. When you first spawn and for every death after that, the only thing you're going to be given is the burst gun and no armor. The burst gun is terrible. You're going to want to go into the map and pick up weapons and armor before you fight. Armor reduces the amount of damage you take, and there are different tiers of them, but they all do the same thing. The green armor is the least effective, the yellow armor is in the middle, and the red armor is the most effective. But any armor is a lot better than no armor, so get some if you can. There are three main powerhouse weapons. They're the rocket launcher. If you need me to explain a rocket launcher to you, you shouldn't be playing the game. You have the ion cannon, which does a lot of damage if you hold it on them. The game also has rocket jumping, which is pretty useful. And the third main weapon is the bolt rifle. This is a long-range weapon that does a lot of damage in a short burst, but has a long reload time. You don't want to use it up close. Are you bored yet? The Mega Health is the last power-up available in Reflex Duel. It gives 100 health on top of what you already have, and only respawns 30 seconds after it's beaten out of the owner. As a new player, it can be easy to overemphasize the importance of this item, but make sure if there's a yellow or a red armor available on the map to prioritize that first before getting the Mega Health. You've probably noticed that Reflex is a very in-depth movement system, and this is one of the least self-explanatory aspects of the game. It revolves around turning on the ground while holding a strafe key in the same direction. You can see my speed in the bottom middle of my screen going up when I do this on the ground, and going way up when I do this in the air. When I'm turning to the right, I hold down right strafe, and when I'm turning to the left in the air, I hold down left strafe. As long as you jump and you continue to jump, you'll continue to gain speed indefinitely. It's not like in Counter-Strike where you have to time your jump perfectly when you hit the ground. In this game, as long as you press and hold jump sometime in the air before you land, you'll jump automatically at the perfect time. There's a rate at which you turn to gain speed. If you turn too fast, you're going to lose speed. If you turn too slow, you're not going to gain speed. Once you have a basic understanding of the movement, getting better at it is not a conceptual problem. You'll naturally get better at it the more you play the game. There are also fancy trick jumps, and these are definitely going to be hard when you first start. Don't worry about them too much. I'll make later videos on how to do them, and once you get better at the movement, you'll be able to drill these until you can never miss. All the weapons come back 10 seconds after you pick them up, all the armors come back 25 seconds after you pick them up, and all the health bubbles come back 25 seconds after you pick them up too. It's not super important, especially when you first start, to know exactly when an item is coming back up. It's mostly important to know which armor is coming up next, so you know where to be on the map. You'll get a better feel for when an armor is coming up exactly just by playing the game more. You notice I didn't lump the weapons into this. That's because you can't run the weapons. They come up too often. If you want to keep the other player away from a particular weapon, it's best to just control the area and keep an eye on him when he gets near it. But it's way more important to control the armors. I'll see you all in the next video when we actually get to talk about the game. This was really boring, and I hope most of you skipped this.